Hi, I'm Chef Tig, and I'm from Slice Catering, which is my own personal catering business where I do like fine dining, like course catered events at people's houses, like small parties and whatnot. And I'm also currently working as a private chef for a professional athlete. I've been in the business for about 25 years now, and this dish that I'm going to be making today is from this place that I worked at over in Portage Lakes. And it's just a creamy chicken pasta dish that's got some smoky elements to it and cheesy. So it was a fan favorite. Everybody that came in really loved it. So gonna show you guys how to make that today. So the ingredients we're working with today is I have some turkey bacon. You could use regular bacon, but everybody that's eating here tonight, they deny the swine, so we went with the turkey bacon. Just wanted that smokiness from the dish. So I have some fresh English peas. I have some scallions, some cream, some sun-dried tomatoes and oil, garlic, some Parmesan, and then some mushrooms. I'm going to start with the peas. I'm going to blanch those real quick. And when you're doing any green vegetable like that, you want to salt your water pretty heavily to where it tastes like, they say salt it till it tastes like the sea. And we'll put that on the stove. While that's working, I'm gonna get the water on for the pasta. The pasta I decided to use is Campanelli. It's gonna be like a thicker, it's got a lot of like nooks and crannies in it to catch all the sauce and stuff, so that's what I'm looking for with this, is something that's gonna be sturdy and also like catch all that sauce. And for the chicken, I almost always use chicken thighs, just because chicken thighs have, in my opinion, a lot more flavor, and there's a little bit more fat in them, so they don't dry out as quickly as chicken breast. Chicken breasts definitely dry out very easily if you're not careful. I'm gonna marinate these chicken thighs right now, and I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to go too extensive with everything, so I just bought these little pastes at Giant Eagle. They have them in the produce section. This one's just a basil flavored paste, and I'm gonna marinate the chicken in that. You can marinate it overnight, you can marinate it for a few hours, or it can really even go right in. This is just kind of just a nice layer of seasoning. So I'm just using this paste and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. And I got these chicken thighs from local Bronte Farms. I'm just gonna mix this in and let it sit for a while. Now that water's boiling for the peas, I'm just gonna drop them in for about 30 seconds. The peas add like a really nice pop to the dish, so you don't want to overcook them. If you can get fresh, try to get fresh. You can use frozen, but the fresh is going to have that little more extra texture. I'm just gonna, since I don't have any ice, I'm just gonna run cold water over till it cools off. I preheated the oven to 425. These chickens have been marinating for probably about 4 or 5 hours. I couldn't say that with a straight face. Always use gloves when dealing with raw meat. And into the oven. I'm gonna leave them in for about 15 minutes and check and see where it's at. I doubt they'll be done at that time because those were a little bit thicker, but they'll probably be pretty close. You should be able to gauge from there how much longer it needs. All right, next. So I got some shiitake mushrooms. Just gonna peel the stems off all these. Do this garlic next. I bought these cloves already peeled. I cheated. I usually, if there's like a big root on the end, I usually just snip that off. I try to avoid, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the little jars of the garlic, the minced garlic and water. I try to avoid those. They don't really have much flavor. It's just like some kind of like water, like brine solution that just, I don't know, it doesn't taste like garlic anymore. You lose a lot of that freshness. And a good way to chop it up, I usually just give it a quick crush. Just crush, and then I just go over it. Give it a couple times over. Next, I'm going to cut the turkey bacon. Now, if I was using regular bacon, that would be the first thing in the pan, and I would just dice it up into pieces and render it, and I would use that fat from the bacon to cook everything else. This doesn't have a ton of fat, so I'm still gonna have to end up using some oil. I guess the last thing I actually probably have to cut are these green onions. And I'm just, that's actually just gonna be the topper on this dish. Always give the scallions a good rinse. All right, so our water's at a rolling boil. Not really. Go ahead and drop the pasta in. I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check in about 8 minutes, see where it's at. So now this chicken's gotta be done. I'm not. So there's all this liquid. I'm going to deglaze the pan with that liquid, so I just want to kind of give it a taste first to make sure it didn't get too salty. That way I know how much to add when I do that. Pasta's probably done. I know it's done. I can feel it. Just give it a quick rinse. It doesn't have to go completely cold because it's going right back into the dish here in a few minutes. So some olive oil. You can be pretty generous with it because those mushrooms, those mushrooms will soak up a lot of that oil. Crank it to high. I'm gonna get it right to where it starts to smoke, and then I'm gonna start adding some of the ingredients. Basically add stuff in stages. The mushrooms, like this is gonna take the longest because you want it to crisp up and then you want those to saute. These are already cooked. Like all this stuff is already cooked, so you'll want to add that closer to the end. It's not ideal. I'm gonna add just a little bit of this now, so it kind of gets a little spice in that oil, a little heat throughout the dish. Now I'm gonna add the mushrooms in. Once those get a little color, then I'm gonna Add this garlic, probably about close to 2 tablespoons of garlic there. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic. So now I have this liquid and I'm just gonna use a little bit to kind of deglaze, and what that does is it lifts a lot of that those little bits and that little stuff that's kind of stuck to the pan, kind of lifts all that up. See how a lot of it just kind of pulled right off? Now add the cream. It's gonna be quite a bit because I'm still adding the pasta, I'm still adding, you know, the peas and spinach and stuff. So now we wait again. I'll start adding some of this cheese. Now, I would have liked to have had a better option than this, but this was all they had at the grocery store, was this this grated Kraft Romano and Parmesan. What kind of cheese? Oh, I like, for this I do like the powder because it melts down better. There it is. You see it's starting to get quite a bit thicker. Now I'm gonna start piling in the other ingredients. These sun-dried tomatoes. I don't want to add the peas too early because they get really discolored if you put them in too early. And they overcook easily. You want them to have that nice little pop. So much pasta. Now I'm going to add the peas and the spinach. Now we're good to go. Whenever that sauce is nice and thick and everything's stirred in and hot, we're good to serve. Top it with little little green onions. Top with a little shaved parm. And we're good to go.